Are safety flares worth having when traveling? That's what we're going to talk today about in staying on the road. They're important to have, and I'm going to explain why. And then in the Enjoying the RV Life segment today, we're going to talk about design engineering. That's a company. They have a website, designengineering.com. They make sound and heat insulation, and you'll see why we're going to talk about this. And in the next stop, we're going to go to Buellton, California. Back to California. We got to get out of that state, man. We're there too much. It's rubbing off on me. I want to get rid of my house and live in a tent.
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Now, then we're going to talk about RV envy. Why on earth do RVers need dehumidifiers? Some of you might already know why. Some of you might have one. This is Eric Stark, the host of the Smart RVer Podcast, delivering the smarts you need to enjoy the freedom of the RV lifestyle without the fear of breaking down. So let's talk everything RV. This is episode 151. Welcome back to the show, Alexis. One more round.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
All right, good. So you're enthused, ready to go.
You know it.
All right, I always ask that question. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Ready. All right. It's a high-energy show.
Yes, it is. Woo!
All right. So everybody out there in the audience, show some love. Go out and check out our website. Like us on Spotify, iTunes, ever how you're listening to us. Go to our YouTube channel. Hit the like and subscribe button.
Go there now.
Yeah, you can hit that confetti. You know, when you hit the like and you see the confetti pop, that's the best part of it. Well, the information we give is good too, but...
Yeah. But really, the confetti.
In fact, in our latest video, we have actually confetti in it as well.
Hey.
Yeah, it's very awesome. So we got our own brand of confetti. All right, so let's get into enjoying the RV life. And today we're going to talk about design engineering. And they have a website, designengineering.com. Why are we talking about these guys? Well, first off, they make sound and heat insulation for just about anything. Race cars. I mean, race cars are kind of their big deal.
Oh, cool.
You know, they're into NASCAR, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they have stuff on space shuttles and,
wow.
You know, if you need something that needs to be insulated or sound deadened, these are the guys. But more importantly, they're also down to earth. Well, they're into race cars, so that's cool. But they make insulation kits for Ford, Mercedes, and Ram vans.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, Ford is just the Transit. They don't do the E-Series, but that's all right. And why I bring this up is because so many people are living in RVs today, living in vans or traveling in vans. You know, it's this new trend, and it's very cool. It's very minimalist. It's easy. But sometimes getting things insulated properly, you know, getting the right insulation, it can be maybe not hard to do. It's just you're using the wrong stuff, so you're wasting your time.
Right.
Where these guys, they sell kits for like a van. So it's like, and this is a kit. When I talked to them, I think the Sprinter van had like 400 pieces in a kit.
Wow.
And it comes on a pallet. It's not in a box. It comes on a pallet, and a big giant box on a pallet, and you just pull out the pieces. But he said, what did you say? It took like 2 hours to insulate it like a Sprinter van.
That's not bad.
With their pieces. It's going to take you a lot longer than that, cutting all your own insulation and trying to shove it in and make it work.
No kidding.
You know, they got step-by-step instructions. It's really sweet. And so their insulation is going to keep the van warmer, obviously, but they also have sound deadening material, which insulation will do some of that, but they have stuff specifically for sound deadening.
So cool.
And if they don't have your vehicle, you can call them up and talk to them and buy the insulation in a roll or ever how you want to get it. And then you can do your own, you know, custom insulation job. And the point is, you can go to Home Depot and buy that pink stuff. You know, you can shove it in there, or you can buy foam and try to cut it into sizes and make it work. But it's just barely going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when you're all said and done, it's going to be just as hot or just as cold.
Yeah.
It's going to be just as noisy. You know, God, it didn't seem like it did a thing, you know?
Right.
Where when you buy stuff like this, it's made for it. And these design engineering makes great quality products, you know, insulation products. Like I said, they're on race cars, spacecrafts, everything, you know? So check them out, especially if you're into the van life. You know, if that's what you're doing now, check it out. If you have a spot on your RV where it's just getting super hot, You've tried other things, call up design engineering. I guarantee you they'll be able to help you.
Makes me want to buy a van.
Yeah, sometimes the stuff we talk about is going, gosh, I wish I had one of those so I could do that.
I know, seriously.
Right. Yeah, buy a brand new Jeep so you can just put all the junk on it that Overlanders can do, or or if someone wanted to buy me a studio and deck it out,
yeah, hint,
cool.
hint.
Yeah, hint. If anybody's bored out there, has a lot of money, we could use an updated studio.
Yeah, somebody adopt Eric.
Cameras, microphones, lighting, racks and stuff, and cables. Cables are cool, colored cables.
Oh, man.
All right, now we're getting off track here. Now let's get back on track. And by the way, I just did a YouTube video on this about road safety flares. I was, highlighting the triangles, but nonetheless, there's a video out there on YouTube. So after you get done with this, we'll put a link in here as well, so it'll be there. So road safety flares, why are these things a big deal? They're extremely valuable for RVers. There's this great tool that's going to enhance your safety when you're out traveling. You break down on the road. Things can happen anytime, anywhere. Recently, I had a friend that went to Idaho. Now, he was in a car, which was probably better than an RV, but he was on a road, a 2-lane road, and it's right next to a river, follows the river, and, the shoulder's like a foot wide. And that's where his car decided to break down. And it was on a curve. So, here he is with his wife, and they're like, holy smokes, what do we do? And they had a flashlight, and they're trying to wave people around it until help came, Pretty dangerous. They're out of the car, and probably not so much for them, but someone comes around that corner, they don't see that car. Oncoming traffic's right there. What do? You hit the car driving to the river or hit the oncoming traffic. Also these decisions, So if he would have had safety flares, it definitely would have made his life a little bit easier and better for travelers. Or it's the guy who breaks down and sits on the side, sits in the road trying to fix the problem. And then here comes somebody who's not paying attention. They're texting or who knows what, changing the radio station. They look away for a moment and plow right into him. He's like the safety chains came off his trailer or something. Rather than pulling off the road and then doing something, they do it on the road. And sometimes you can't help that. But people get killed and maimed and serious injury happens. And it's not always to the person that's out of the car. So these flares are, relatively inexpensive, and they give you great visibility. People can see you from a long distance away. It's not like 10 feet away, 5 feet away. Yeah, I don't know if you ever driven up on a car at night, doesn't have taillights on. You're going down the road, also there's a car in front of you. Where'd he come from? There's no taillights?
Yeah, not good.
You see a little glimmer of chrome or something. And that's it. All of a sudden you're on it. And sometimes it can be too late.
Yeah.
So they give you that visibility. And, lower light conditions is very important, or inclement weather. Sometimes people really don't pay attention to things. And those safety flares, they're kind of universal. Everybody uses something like that in an emergency. You see red and blue lights on, emergency vehicles, red lights on fire trucks, red lights for road flares. Road flares are always red, or they burn red, the old school type. So it just makes it more noticeable. You stand out to other motorists, and it alerts them there's a problem. And then also, if you have a breakdown, like what my friend did on a curve, someplace that's very uncomfortable, if you have safety flares, you can put them on the road, and you can also have someone down the road some, where they need to be signaling people. They got something bright. They're holding up like a flare saying, hey, there's a problem ahead, slow down. Then people come up, they see the next flare, and then okay, we got a problem here. And then you can have those flares set up to guide the car or the persons around your car. It's kind of a hassle, but man, you can save lives, your own, lives of other, not have to deal with a whole bunch of crazy insurance claims, be sued. You come across something that, maybe someone's trailer fell off. They just kept on going. Who knows? I mean, what you'll see anymore out on the road.
Yeah.
You could have an animal in the middle of the highway, a body. You can mark it with a flare or, get them set up so people don't hit it. And until that thing gets removed or taken care of, now it's marked. Safety zones, even if you're off the road, sometimes having those flares up, which you notice a lot of truck drivers do that. Even when they're off the road and maybe they're broke down, they put them out there so people know, you're here. This is why. It kind of marks the territory of there's a problem, and we're just trying to let you know,
Yep.
Even though you're off the road, it's still a good thing. So it's the safety zones where you're at, but you're just making it safer. And then there are certain states, certain areas where you have to have flares. You have to use them. If your car breaks down, there's certain laws in certain areas that they force you to be safe, which it should just come natural, And I know when a car breaks down or an RV breaks down, it's like the last thing you want to do is start looking for that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's where having it, being prepared really comes into play.
Yes.
It's still a pain, but it's well worth it.
It saved lives.
Definitely. There's more than just one type of flare. Today in this modern world we live in, I remember the old days with, a little kid, you come up to an accident. In fact, we lived off a major street and there was accidents sometimes it was foggy out and there'd be cops there and be like 50 or 60 flares.
Wow.
And those ones you hit and light,
Yeah.
They set them on the road, then they burn out, they go out and put another one out. And,
Right.
Flares have come a long way since then. What you can buy in the store, what even professionals have, people like search and rescue or paramedics, off-duty cops or on-duty cops.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they have is even better than what we can get, Doesn't matter as long as you have something.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember we came up to an accident out of the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and we stopped, and we're trying to direct traffic, trying to get, we just got there, and an off-duty cop showed up. And he had these flares, or not flares, they're just these lights. They look like the pucks out on the road that are glued down. And he turned them all on, just started chucking them out there. And they're bouncing and hitting, but they, people could see him because he didn't want to go walking out there and get them set up originally.
Yeah.
He kind of took control and people were going around. So that's pretty cool, Mm-hmm. And he was right on that. And they worked and they're rugged. Probably harder for us to find as regular folk. But having something's better than nothing. So I talked about the flares that you strike and light. Those are pyrotechnic flares.
Yeah.
To be, technical about it. And they work good. They're relatively inexpensive. They're about $4 each. It looks like you can buy like 3-packs now or 2 3-packs, a 50-pack. A big box. Because they're not as common anymore, so they're not selling these variety of flavors like they used to. You used to be able to go to an auto parts store and just buy 1 or 2 or 3. Maybe you can. I've never looked. They're just not popular anymore.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, those things are actually really a good way to go.
I think so.
Especially if you bought a box, it's going to be $150, but you got it, man.
Yeah. You're covered.
You're covered. And, they have a 4 or 5 year shelf life. So if, you don't use them in 4 years, you just have a big flare party,
Yeah, there you go.
And just use them up.
Yeah.
But they're so universal and they work in, bad weather and things like that. So if it's raining out, snowing, and the accident or the problem's cleared up, you just leave. You can just leave them on the road burning if you have to.
Yeah.
They're not going to hurt anything unless you're in a fire zone, but the point is they're not something that you paid $20 for and you need to go retrieve it, which can put yourself at risk as well. Then you have the LED type with LED lights that strobe and do all that. And, they're red and flash and, like every LED light that's made, a flashlight has 15 functions on it. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why not just on and off like a flashlight? Why do we have to have all this stroke-inducing nonsense on a flashlight?
I don't know.
Well, that's how these LED flares are, too. They got, 6 functions on them. It's stupid. At least I think so. But anyway, those are a good option because they're LEDs, so the batteries last longer. They're going to go longer. The batteries still deteriorate just sitting like all batteries do, so you do have to check them. Then there's battery-powered flares, which are similar to LED lights, except they don't have the LED light in it. It's just basically a fluorescent light or something similar to that, incandescent maybe. They work. They're not as common anymore. The little LED, round pucks are very popular, square ones. And you want that red because that signifies danger, so that helps people to get it. Right. And then you can get the chemical light sticks. Now, what we're familiar with is like going to Magic Mountain, Disneyland, someplace like that, and they have those green sticks.
Yeah.
You twist it, and it kind of makes a snap noise, and it turns fluorescent green.
Well, like a glow stick, yeah.
And glow stick, there you go. You know, backpackers carry them, hikers do, you know, they're TV sets they use them, throw 50 of them down a well to see little Timmy down there, whatever it might be. But you can get ones that are similar to that, but they're made more for this industrial situation.
Yeah.
They have red, green, orange, white. Red is probably the best. Now, these things aren't going to probably double as extra light. They're just going to serve their purpose. And I like those things. I forget what they cost, but they were maybe $4 a piece too. They were similar to the flares, which the flares were the cheapest. So they weren't bad in pricing. I forget the lives of these. Sometimes the life of these glow sticks, they say is like 2 or 3 years, but they last a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you break them and activate them, they last for hours, like 8 hours, you know, it's like, put this thing out already.
Yeah.
And then there's the old standby, the reflective triangles that you see most truck drivers have. You know, you set them up, man, these things, they're designed so they don't fall over. You can't miss them. And it's got that triangular shape. So it's very obvious they stand out. And that's what I like. Yeah. The electronic ones are good, but you have to keep up on the batteries. And like today, we have so many things with batteries.
Yeah.
It's like all you do is change batteries. And if you don't catch it in time, you go to use them, they don't work, or the batteries corrode out and ruin everything.
Then what's the point? Yeah.
Right. And, you know, speaking of batteries corroding out, you're better off just keeping the amount of batteries you needed for those in the car, but not in the device. It seems like once they go in a device, they start doing that leaking thing.
Yep.
You don't put them in there, they don't leak.
Agreed.
So that's just a tip from Eric, the Smart RVer. But many of you probably already figured that out, so it's probably not really much of a tip, is it?
That's okay.
So each type of flare kind of has its own little purpose or how it can be used, how they're stored. Some are easier than others. You know, I think that having some of those little round pucks, the LED type, inside the car is good, you know, because they're small. And if you have to use them, you can get out with those in your hand, already turned on, and get the process going. Then if you have some of the safety flares, the triangular type flares, then you get to the trunk or the back of the RV or wherever and get them suckers out on the road.
Yep.
So you start the process with the little ones, put in those triangles. And if you have the flare type that you light, those are great too, because you can just toss them, you know.
Yeah.
And those are good too, you know, especially if someone else needs something like that and you want to get going because they're okay.
Yeah.
But you've got to leave them something. If you have those, you know, the throwaway flares you just light, you give them, you know, 6 of those or whatever. Here you go, man. And you can take off knowing that now they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying abandon people out on the road, but, you know, sometimes they're changing their tire. Everything's under control.
Right. But
you know, but okay, why don't we put these out and then you can just leave.
Yeah.
You know, if you have to. But you might want to stay. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, these reflectors, but it's remembering to get them and have them and have them ready. And you can buy them on all the horrible places that you can shop online, you know, or you can just go to your local store and buy them there. You know, the prices might be a little bit more, but you got some customer service and you can actually touch them and feel them and maybe buy a little better quality, you know.
That's right.
We always like to skimp and save money, but man, you know, when your life's on the line, the life of your family.
Don't skimp.
It's like the last episode we talked about torque lift camper tie downs. You got a $40,000 camper, a $60,000 truck, or a $100,000 truck, and you want to buy $300 tie downs rather than spending a couple grand and doing it right.
What the heck?
You know, it's the same thing, man. Spend the money, get the good stuff.
Yeah. Peace of mind.
Isn't there a commercial, get the good stuff? Something like that?
I don't know. We're telling you, though, get the good stuff.
Right. And like I said, there's a video we did on this. It's pretty much everything I said here, except a lot quicker, shorter, you know, probably 3 minutes rather than 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever this has gone on. Remember to get those. Make it a priority. Put it on your list. and have something in all of your cars because you just don't know when and where your car is going to break down. And that's the other thing, too. You look at those flares you have to light, the pyrotechnic flares. If you bought a box of 50 and you got 3 cars or 2 cars in an RV, it's really not that many spread out. It's what, 16 and a half each or something like that. You give some to your neighbor if you don't think you need that many. Sell them to them, whatever. Give them to a kid. You got a little pyromaniac in the neighborhood. I mean, just kidding there. Don't do that.
Disclaimer.
But, that way it's not as painful when you're buying them. Because if you go buy those LED pucks, that gets expensive. And there's a set for each car, batteries and all that, where those pyrotechnic ones, they work. They just have a, lifespan of 4 or 5 years. I'm sure it goes beyond that. Everything's underrated anymore, And I've learned, I'm the guy that with eating like yogurt, the day it expires, the day after that, to me, is no good. Now I'll eat it 1 or 2 days later.
Yeah, because
that's
fine.
it. I mean, but, you think about that on the day it expired. Okay, that's it. Even that's cutting it close. But everything else we're learning goes on much longer. The expiration dates are for litigation or something. Yeah. Who knows, man? Keep them in the vehicle. They have an advantage, and it makes you the smart RVer, make people jealous, whatever. They're great to have when you need them, and it's not something you're going to need all the time. So you might have to get them out once in a while and just open them up, make sure you know how they work again. Maybe you forgot. All right. With that being said, when you listen to this podcast, look at the details of your podcast player, whichever brand you're using, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever it is, and make sure you like us. Yeah. Give us a thumbs up. We like that.
Send us some love.
Now, on YouTube, you get a thumbs up, you get confetti. All the other ones, I don't know what you get.
Peace of mind.
There you go. Peace of mind. You're supporting the best show
That's right.
out there. All right. Now, let's go to the next stop, and Alexis is going to, again, take us someplace, and this is Buellton, California.
Yes, sir. We're going to Buellton. This is a really cool place.
And Buellton's in the Santa Barbara Mountains, for those that don't know that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So you're you're kind of above and behind all the crime. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It's a firewall, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're safe, mostly.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't hear incoming. All right, Alexis. So why are we going to risk our lives and go to Buellton?
It's a pretty cool place. As you know. There's a lot to see there. I'm just going to list a few. You can look at more on the website. But for one, there's Ostrich Land, which I thought was pretty cute, especially if you have kids with you. Or if you just like ostriches, you can go and pet and interact and learn about these birds. There's a Hans Christian Andersen Museum and Park, which I thought was very unique. There's a hot springs. There's a ton of places to eat. There's a Danish pancake place, which sounds really, really good. And that makes sense because there's a Dutch, village close by. What is that called again? I forget the name of that. Solvang. So that's close by. So you can hit that town too. That's a really, really cool little town. Mm-hmm. But lots of RV parks nearby. I listed a couple: Flying Flags RV Resort and River Park RV Campground. Just check them out before you book it. But I really do recommend this place. I think it's unique. I think it's a cool place to visit. Doesn't have to be super expensive, but it's a really neat road trip. So get on it, people.
Right, get on it. You heard her, man. Get on it. So Buellton, I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
That whole area.
It's cool area.
Very cool. Very cool. If you're thinking about buying a new Ford vehicle, stop by Vreeland Ford. Great people there. They'll take care of you. Tell them Eric sent you.
Hey, yeah.
And they'll go, Eric who? And you say, well, Eric from the Smart RVer Podcast. They'll still say Eric who. Then they might ask you to leave after a little bit, so maybe don't say that. But great place to buy a vehicle, man. That old town, sit in the showroom and bang out a deal.
Nice.
Great place.
Yeah.
Also, you have a lot around there. Solvang's pretty cool in itself. But I think there's also an Anderson split pea soup in Buellton.
There is.
So you got to go there. That's one of those places you just got to do.
Yep.
What else is there? Lake Kachuma's nearby. Pismo Beach is nearby. In fact, when we talked about Pismo Beach, we talked about going here.
Yes, we did. Now we're doing the opposite.
And although I bashed the living daylights out of California, I mean, it's just They deserve it, I guess.
Oh.
The state does. Yeah. But they still have some really nice places.
They
you know?
do. They really do.
I mean, I was there a year or so ago, and I made it there and back alive, unscathed. Just a couple bullet holes in the car, and we were good.
Yeah, from you or somebody else.
Someone else. But there's a lot in that general area. So, like, even if you didn't stay in Buellton, you could stay someplace else and make day trips.
Absolutely.
It's one of those great places for that.
It is cool.
The ocean's not far away. Santa Barbara itself is worth seeing.
It's really cool.
That whole general area. So check it out. Buy a Ford truck there. Go eat lunch at Anderson's. Trying to think, there was another thing I had in mind about there. Oh, well, it doesn't matter.
Check it out. You'll find it.
Yep. Go there. It's a wonderful place.
Yes.
I think Ronald Reagan owned a house up there, too, one time. San Ynez Valley. That rings a bell. Oh, yeah, Hans Christian Andersen.
I know. Isn't that cool?
I know that name from, like, my childhood, children books or something.
Yes, he did children's books.
Thinking about it, with the kind of garbage that's being taught in the school systems, that would be worth seeing, taking your children there.
Yeah.
Give them something worthwhile, something with some substance to it. Some moral clarity.
That's right.
I mean, that might not be their cup of tea or your cup of tea, but... Yeah. Heck, that's the kind of stuff that will disappear soon enough.
No, for real.
People don't pay attention to that. They don't appreciate it. Yeah. And it just finally dawned on me, that's my childhood, Yeah. So anyways, getting sidetracked there, but check it out. Some good stuff to learn about. So dehumidifiers. Now, many people know what they are. You got big old commercial ones, you're trying to dry out a house, but we're talking about RVs. And, most people would think about it just getting the moisture out of the air. It's pretty straightforward. You live in your RV or you go places where it's moist in the air, so that gets it out and it helps. If you live in the Midwest, maybe during the summertime when it's a lot more humid, you have them in your RV. Places like Montana in the wintertime, you're using your RV and your furnace is on. Well, you got all this humidity. You've got to get rid of it. It's on the walls and everything. But it's more than that. It's a comfort thing at one point, but at another point, it turns into something that makes absolute sense because it keeps the moisture out and keeps the mold and mildew from growing. And it happens. And once it starts to grow, have you ever seen mold like in a sink? It's the one day there's a little speck, the next day the whole sink's green or something. I know it's an exaggeration, but all of a sudden it's like, what the heck is happening here,
Right.
And it ruins stuff because the moisture not only is on the surface of all the inside of the RV, it's behind it. It gets in the windows. It's in the curtains, the furniture. So it can actually ruin everything. And it makes it much more uncomfortable. Like in the wintertime, when you go to bed, if you're sleeping in your RV, as women know this, they wake up and their hair's frozen. That's because all the moisture in the air. Mm-hmm. Things are kind of damp after the heat's been on for a little bit. Like, what is that? It's weird. You get that smell, it's like living on a boat in the marina.
It's the worst.
And then, in some places in the Midwest, maybe during the summer you're using them, and you have to when you're out camping, but I would recommend leaving them in your RV all the time if you're in an area where you experience humidity. Even if it's just a little bit, it's getting it out of the air. And these things are relatively inexpensive. You can buy a dehumidifier for under $20. Yeah. Then you can get the replacement pellets, like, 3 packs for $12 or whatever. There's probably little go-arounds where you can make them yourself too. But all in all, they're not that expensive.
No.
But here's the thing for the people that live in areas where it's cold or they go into cold climates. And you get that humidity in the air. If you reduce the humidity, your furnace is going to be more efficient and your RV will warm up several degrees because you get the moisture out of the air. The moisture doesn't really warm up. You're not in the rainforest. It's cold in your RV, and it can't warm up, and you get new moisture, and it just makes it colder. Then everything has that damp feeling, and everything's cold. It's like camping. If you bring a sleeping bag, and you're sleeping in it's, 20 degrees out, if you start sweating, your sleeping bag's going to get cold. And then the next night when you go to bed with that sweat in the sleeping bag, if it's not dried out, you're going to start out cold and you're going to wake up freezing. You probably won't even get through the night.
Right.
So that's what humidity does, that moisture in the air. So dehumidifiers have a lot of purposes. Sometimes just that general, keep the moisture out when you need to, make it warmer, make it more comfortable, and stop that mold from taking over your RV and destroying it.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on dehumidifiers, and every RV store sells them.
Yep.
So walk down, drive down, go to your local RV store and buy one.
Yep.
All right. So that's my pushing shopping local. And speaking of shopping, there's a subtle segue, right?
Love it.
Summer's upon us, and you're camping outside because you don't want to be inside your RV because it's too wet and moist in there. So you go outside and roll out that nice awning you have, and then you grab one of those SunPro MFG awning drops that you slide into it, keep the sun out from underneath the awning. That's what you need to do. So go to sunpromfg.com. You can look at the shade drops for RV awnings. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I own one myself.
Imagine
All right. Yeah. Imagine that, right? Okay. Anyway, so go to sunpromfg.com. Yeah. We make awesome slide out fabrics, windshield covers, the slide out or the sunshades for RV awnings. And we make good stuff. We don't make that junk you get on the big ghetto shops on the internet. Oops. Alexis always frowns when I say that.
I do.
I just hate some of those places because they just no customer service, low quality stuff. Not all of them, but some of them.
You're right, though.
All right. So that brings us to the end of the show today, episode 151. Next week will be episode 152. And we're going to talk about your RV refrigerator that just died. What do? Do you have a funeral for it? Or do you just punt? Or do you do neither? We're going to find out next week. I want to thank everybody for listening. We really appreciate the support and the listening and sharing the show with other RVers and family and friends and so forth. So this is Eric Stark with the Smart RVer Podcast. It's been great hanging out with you. And if I don't see you on the road, let's connect at thesmartrver.com.